Welcome back, guys. Today, we will be breaking down simple traffic stop tricks cops use all the time in Texas. You know why I pulled you over? It's 10:43 at night. Red and blue lights are flashing behind you on a Texas highway. Your hands are on the steering wheel. The officer walks up slowly and says, "Just be honest with me and this goes a lot easier. Where are you headed tonight?" Seems harmless. Then comes the second question. "You got anything illegal in the car? Mind if I take a quick look?" Now your heart starts racing because you weren't expecting this to turn into a fishing expedition. And here's the problem most drivers never realize until it's too late. A traffic stop is not just about the traffic stop. For many officers, it's also an investigation, a test, a conversation designed to get consent, admissions, nervous behavior, or contradictions they can use later. So what do you do? What should you say? Can they legally keep you there? And what are the 3 traffic stop tricks Texas cops hope you never learn? Because one wrong sentence can completely change the outcome of that stop. One unnecessary explanation can give police probable cause. One, "sure, go ahead," can turn a 5-minute warning into a full vehicle search. And one emotional reaction can escalate the entire encounter fast. In this video, you're going to learn 3 of the most common traffic stop tactics officers use during Texas stops, what they may legally be trying to establish, and the exact phrases you can use to protect yourself without being aggressive, rude, or confrontational. They rely on you not knowing your rights. This channel makes sure you do. Subscribe and stay informed. And if you believe more people need to see this, share it and let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is not about winning against police on the roadside. It's about avoiding mistakes. Because the roadside is not the courtroom, and the people who usually get themselves into trouble are not the people who stay silent. It's the people who keep talking. The first trick is what I call the friendly conversation trap. An officer walks up smiling. "How's your night going? Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Have you had anything to drink tonight?" Most people think this is just casual conversation. Sometimes it is, but sometimes the officer is listening for inconsistencies, nervousness, admissions, slurred speech, or details that justify extending the stop. And this is where people accidentally volunteer information they never needed to give. "Yeah, I had 2 beers earlier. I'm coming from my cousin's place. I'm actually in a hurry. I was texting for a second." Now the stop just expanded. Remember this, in Texas, you generally must provide identification and basic required documents during a lawful traffic stop. But that does not mean you must answer endless investigative questions. A calm response matters. Instead of filling silence with explanations, keep your answers short and controlled. If questioning starts drifting away from the actual traffic violation, you can calmly say, "Officer, I prefer not to answer questions," or "I'd like to remain silent." That works because you are not arguing, you are not resisting, you are simply declining voluntary questioning. Notice the wording, not "I know my rights," not "you can't ask me that," not "this stop is illegal." That attitude escalates tension immediately. Instead, you stay calm and neutral. A lot of drivers talk themselves into deeper investigations because silence feels awkward. Officers know that. People start rambling when they get nervous, and nervous people often admit things they later regret. The second trick is the consent search trick. This one catches thousands of drivers. The officer says, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Or, "If you've got nothing to hide, we'll be done in 2 minutes." That phrase is designed to sound informal and harmless, but legally, consent changes everything. If you voluntarily allow a search, you may be giving up major legal protections that could have helped you later in court. And here's the important part. You do not need to argue about whether they have probable cause. You do not need to debate the Constitution on the roadside. You simply make your position clear. Calmly say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. That sentence matters because it clearly communicates non-consent without physical resistance. Every word matters. Officer keeps the tone respectful. I do not consent is legally clear. To any searches closes loopholes and avoids ambiguity. Now listen carefully. If an officer believes they already have lawful authority to search, they may search anyway. Do not physically interfere. Do not grab things. Do not block the officer. Do not escalate. Instead, if the search continues, you can calmly repeat, I am not resisting, but I do not consent to this search. That sentence can become extremely important later because it separates non-consent from resistance. A lot of people destroy their own defense by physically confronting officers during searches. Don't do that. Your goal is not to win the argument on the roadside. Your goal is to stay safe and preserve your rights. And another thing Texas drivers should understand. Canine delays are a huge issue during traffic stops. An officer generally cannot extend a stop indefinitely without legal justification just to wait for a dog unit. But the facts matter. Timing matters. Courts look closely at whether the officer unnecessarily prolonged the stop. Which brings us to trick number 3, the just wait a minute detention extension. This is when the original purpose of the stop appears finished, but the officer keeps fishing. Maybe your documents are already checked. Maybe the warning is written, but now the officer suddenly asks, mind hanging tight for another minute? Or, I'm just waiting on another unit. Or, before you leave, one more question. This is where many people accidentally stay in a voluntary encounter without realizing it. So you need clarity. You calmly ask, am I free to go or am I being detained? That is one of the most important phrases during any traffic stop. Why? Because it forces legal clarity. If you are free to go, the stop should end. If you are being detained, the officer is now asserting legal authority to continue holding you. And do not say it aggressively. Don't turn it into a challenge. Say it calmly and respectfully. Officer, am I free to go or am I being detained? Simple, direct, clear. If the officer says you are free to go, leave calmly. Do not restart the conversation. Do not make sarcastic comments. Do not celebrate. Just leave. If the officer says you are detained, stop talking about the facts of the situation. This is where many people panic and start explaining everything. Big mistake. People think talking will clear things up. Sometimes talking creates the evidence. At that point, you can say, I exercise my right to remain silent. And if questioning continues and you feel the situation is becoming serious, say, I want to speak to a lawyer. That phrase matters because clearly requesting legal counsel can affect how questioning proceeds afterward. Now, let's talk about another traffic stop mistake that officers quietly rely on: nervous movement. Reaching suddenly, digging around, opening compartments without warning, turning aggressively. Even innocent behavior can alarm officers during a nighttime stop. Remember, officers are trained to watch hands constantly. So if you need to reach for registration or insurance, narrate your movement first. Officer, my registration is in the glove box. I'm going to reach for it now. That reduces tension dramatically. Another major mistake is arguing roadside about the law itself. People yell things like, you can't do that. I know the Constitution. This stop is unlawful. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. But the roadside is not where legal disputes get resolved. Courts resolve legal disputes. Body cam footage gets reviewed later. Dash cam footage gets reviewed later. Your immediate goal during the stop is safety and damage control. Stay calm, stay polite. Do not physically resist. Do not consent unnecessarily. Do not volunteer information. And do not confuse politeness with surrendering rights. You can be respectful and still protect yourself. That's the balance smart drivers understand. And here's an important legal clarification. Traffic stop laws vary depending on state law, federal law, court rulings, and the exact facts of the encounter. Texas has specific laws and procedures, but even then, legal outcomes can depend heavily on details. This video is educational information, not personal legal advice. If you are ever arrested or charged, speak directly with a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. But regardless of state, this general framework protects a lot of people from making bad situations worse. Stay calm, keep your hands visible, comply with lawful commands, do not make sudden movements, do not argue on the roadside, do not consent to searches you do not want. Ask clearly, am I free to go or am I being detained? If necessary, say, I exercise my right to remain silent. And if things escalate further, say, I want to speak to a lawyer. Because the drivers who usually protect themselves best are not the loudest people, they're the calmest people. And in the next video, we're going to break down one of the biggest mistakes drivers make during DUI stops, and the exact moment officers start building evidence against you before the test even begins.